Captain Jake Morrison rubbed his tired eyes and stared at the endless stars outside the bridge windows. The USS Defiant had been traveling through empty space for 3 weeks now, mapping new star systems and looking for planets that humans might one day call home. It was boring work, but someone had to do it. "Captain, we're picking up something strange," said Amy Brooks from her position at the communications station. Her fingers moved quickly over the control panel as she tried to clean up the signal. "It's very weak, but it's definitely artificial." Jake walked over to look at her screen. Numbers and patterns scrolled past, mixed with what looked like static. "Where's it coming from?" "The Kepler 442 system," Amy replied. "But according to our charts, there's nothing there except a few dead planets." Lisa Chang, the ship's navigator, looked up from her own station. "I've been to that system before on the mapping runs. No signs of life anywhere, just rocks and gas." Jake frowned. "The Kepler 442 system was right at the edge of human space, barely explored and certainly not colonized. If someone was sending signals from there, they weren't human." "Danny, what do you think?" Jake called to his chief engineer, Danny Rodriguez, who was checking power systems near the back of the bridge. Danny walked over and listened to the signal through Amy's headset. "That's not random noise, Captain. Someone built a transmitter to send this." Dr. Helen Carter, the ship's expert on languages and communication, had been working quietly at her computer. She looked up with excitement in her eyes. "Captain, you need to hear this. I've been running the signal through our translation programs." She played a cleaned-up version of the transmission. At first it was just beeps and mathematical sequences, but then a voice came through. It was high-pitched and musical, unlike any human voice, but the words were clear. "Help us. Please, anyone who can hear this. We are the Valari of the third planet. Our world is dying. Evil ones have come with great ships. They want us to surrender, or they will kill us all. We do not know how to fight. Please, if you are good people, help us. We will give you anything we have." The bridge fell silent. Jake felt his heart beating faster. This was it. Humanity's first contact with another intelligent species, and they were asking for help. "Are you sure this is real?" Jake asked Helen. "The mathematical parts prove they understand physics and engineering," Helen said. "The language patterns are too complex to be fake. And listen to this." She played another part of the message. "They're sending the same plea in dozens of different languages. They even tried to speak English, though it's pretty broken." The English section was hard to understand, but Jake caught words like help, ships, and dying. Amy looked scared. "Captain, what if this is a trap? What if someone is pretending to be in trouble to lure human ships?" "That's possible," Jake admitted. "But what if it's real? What if there really are people out there who need our help?" He thought about Earth's history. How many times had good people stood by and done nothing while others suffered? How many times had help arrived too late? The Valari had sent their message into the darkness of space, hoping someone would care enough to answer. "Lisa, how long would it take to reach the Kepler 442 system?" 2 days at maximum speed," Lisa answered. Jake made his decision. "Amy, send a message to Earth Command. Tell them we've received what appears to be an alien distress call and we're going to investigate. Danny, prepare the ship for maximum speed. Helen, keep working on that translation. I want to know everything they're saying." "Captain," said Lisa carefully, "we're just an exploration ship. We have some defensive weapons, but if they're really are hostile aliens with great ships, we might not be able to help much." Jake nodded. "You're right. But we're the only humans close enough to get there in time. If we wait for a military fleet from Earth, it could take weeks. These people might not have weeks. Over the next few hours, as the Defiant raced toward the unknown system, Helen learned more about the alien message. The Volari had been sending the same call for help for 6 days. They described themselves as a peaceful people who had never built weapons or fought wars. The attackers called themselves the Dominion and demanded total surrender. "They've given the Volari 10 days to decide," Helen reported. "After that, they'll destroy all life on the planet." Amy had been monitoring Earth's response to their message. "Command is sending Admiral Stone's battle group, but they won't arrive for at least a week." Jake stared at the star charts on the main screen. One human exploration ship against an unknown enemy that could threaten an entire planet. The smart thing would be to wait for backup. The safe thing would be to observe from a distance and report back to Earth. But Jake thought about the voice in that transmission. Desperate, frightened, but still hoping that someone out there would hear them and care. The Volari had made what their enemies probably thought was a mistake. They had broadcast their location and their weakness to the entire galaxy, trusting that someone good would find them before someone evil did. "All hands, this is the captain," Jake announced over the ship's communication system. "By now you've all heard about the alien distress call. In 36 hours, we'll arrive at a planet where innocent people are about to be destroyed by an enemy they can't fight. Earth Command has ordered us to observe and report, but I'm asking each of you to think about why we came out here in the first place." He paused, looking around the bridge at his crew. These were good people, explorers and scientists who had joined the space service to help humanity reach for the stars. "We didn't come out here just to make maps and collect rocks. We came to find out what's waiting for us among the stars. Well, now we know. There are people out there just like us and they need help. I won't order anyone to fight, but I'm going to answer that call. Anyone who wants to transfer to a shuttle and wait for the fleet is free to do so." Not a single person moved. Danny spoke first. "Captain, my grandfather fought in World War III because he said good people have to stand up to bullies. I think space bullies count too." Amy nodded. "If we don't help them, who will?" Lisa smiled grimly. "Besides, someone has to show these Dominion aliens that humans don't scare easily." Jake felt proud of his crew. In a few hours, they would face an enemy they knew nothing about, in defense of people they had never met. It was crazy and dangerous, and probably hopeless. It was also the most human thing they could possibly do. The planet below was more beautiful than anything Jake had ever seen. Vast blue oceans sparkled under the system's yellow sun, while green and brown continents showed clear signs of advanced civilization. Cities of gleaming spires rose from coastal plains, connected by what looked like transport tubes that curved gracefully across the landscape. "It's incredible," breathed Lisa from her position at navigation. "Look at those cities. They must house millions of people." Helen Carter was working frantically to establish communication with the planet's surface. "I'm getting better at their language. They call their world Velas and themselves the Volari. I think I can talk to them now." "Do it," Jake ordered. "Let them know we're here to help." Within minutes, a new face appeared on the main screen. The Volari who looked back at them was unlike anything from Earth's imagination. Tall and graceful, with silver skin that seemed to shimmer in the light. Large, dark eyes dominated a face that was both alien and somehow familiar. When the Volari spoke, his voice was musical, like wind chimes in a gentle breeze. "Greetings, beings from the stars. I am Elder Kess of the Volari Council. Are you the ones who answered our call for help? Jake stepped forward. Yes, I'm Captain Morrison. We heard your message and came as fast as we could. Elder Kess's large eyes filled with something that looked like tears. We had begun to lose hope. For 6 days we have sent our plea into the darkness, and only silence came back. We thought perhaps we were alone in the universe after all. You're not alone, Jake said firmly. Tell us what happened here. The elder's expression grew sad. 7 days ago, the great black ships appeared in our sky. Their leader, the one who calls himself Overlord Thane, spoke to our world. He said we must surrender all our freedom to something called the Dominion, or they would destroy every living thing on Velas. Have you tried to negotiate with them? We tried, but they do not understand our ways. We are a peaceful people, Captain Morrison. We have never built weapons of war. We have never fought battles between our cities or nations. For 3,000 years, we have lived in harmony with our world and each other. Amy looked up from her communication station. Captain, I'm picking up more transmissions from the surface. They're sharing everything they know about their technology and culture. They're not even trying to hide anything from us. Jake was amazed. Most species would be suspicious of strangers, especially during a crisis. But the Valari seemed to trust completely. Elder Kess, why are you sharing all this information with us? You barely know us. The elder looked puzzled. Because you came when we called for help. That tells us you are good people. Why would good people wish to harm us? Danny Rodriguez had been studying the sensor readings from the planet. Captain, their technology is incredible. They have power sources that are completely clean, transportation that doesn't pollute, and what looks like complete recycling systems. This is the most advanced, sustainable civilization I've ever seen. But no weapons, Helen added. I've been scanning their transmissions for military terms, and they don't seem to have any. They literally don't know how to fight. Elder Kess nodded sadly. This is true. When the Dominion ships first arrived, some of our younger people suggested we should resist. But we have no knowledge of warfare. Our ships are built for exploration and peaceful contact with other worlds. We have tools for building and healing, but nothing for destroying. Jake felt a chill run down his spine. The Valari were like children in terms of military knowledge. Facing an enemy that had conquered 47 other species, it would be a massacre. What do you know about this Dominion? Very little. Overlord Thane told us they control much of this part of the galaxy. They find worlds with intelligent life and demand surrender. Those who submit become slaves. Those who resist are destroyed. What about the other species they conquered? Are any of them allies now? Elder Kess's expression grew even sadder. We do not think so. The Dominion ships carry no other species. We believe they were all enslaved or killed. The bridge fell silent as everyone absorbed this information. 47 species, possibly billions of intelligent beings, all destroyed or enslaved by the Dominion war machine. How much time do you have left? Jake asked. 3 days. Then Overlord Thane says they will begin what he calls cleansing operations. Jake looked around his bridge at the faces of his crew. They all knew what he was thinking. One small exploration ship against 12 massive warships. The math was simple and brutal, but Amy spoke up from her station. Captain, I've been analyzing the Dominion fleet movements. They're not expecting any resistance. They're just sitting there waiting for the deadline. That's because they've never faced anyone who fought back, Danny added. According to Elder Kess, all the other species either surrendered immediately or were too weak to matter. Helen was studying more transmissions from the surface. Captain, the Valari have technology we could use. Their power systems are more advanced than ours, and they have some kind of energy shielding that protects their cities from natural disasters. You think we could adapt their technology to our weapons? Maybe. They're already offering to share everything they have with us. Elder Kess had been listening to their conversation through the translation system. Captain Morrison, we do not understand warfare, but we understand tools and technology. If there is any way our knowledge can help you help us, we will give you everything we have learned in 3,000 years of peace. Jake made a decision that would change the course of galactic history. Elder Kess, I want to send some of my people down to your planet to work with your scientists. We're going to combine human military knowledge with Valari technology. You believe you can fight the Dominion ships with just one vessel? We're going to try. More of our ships are coming, but they won't arrive in time. It's up to us to hold the line until help gets here. The elder was quiet for a long moment. When he spoke again, his voice was filled with wonder. In all our legends and stories, we dreamed that someday we would meet other peaceful peoples among the stars. We never imagined we would meet warriors who fight for others. We're not really warriors, Jake said. We're explorers, just like you. But sometimes explorers have to fight to protect what they've found. Danny was already preparing a shuttle for the trip to the surface. Captain, I want to go down there and see what we can do with their technology. Take Helen with you. We need someone who can communicate properly. As the shuttle launched toward the beautiful planet below, Jake stared at the 12 Dominion warships hanging in space like black clouds before a storm. Somewhere on board those vessels, Overlord Thane was probably laughing at the idea of one small human ship challenging his entire fleet. Let him laugh, Jake thought. Thane had made the same mistake that bullies throughout history had always made. He assumed that because someone was peaceful, they were also weak. He assumed that because someone didn't start fights, they couldn't finish them. The Valari had reached out into the darkness for help, and humanity had answered. Now it was time to show the Dominion what happened when good people decided they'd had enough of bullies. The beautiful planet turned slowly below them, 3 billion Valari going about their lives, unaware that their fate now rested in the hands of a species they'd met less than an hour ago. But Jake had a feeling that by the time this was over, the galaxy would know that humanity kept its promises, even when keeping those promises seemed impossible. Jake stood alone in his quarters, staring at the message from Earth Command that had arrived an hour ago. Admiral Stone's orders were clear: maintain distance, observe only, no engagement without authorization. The message ended with a stern reminder that Captain Morrison was responsible for the lives of his crew and the security of human space. The smart choice was obvious. Pull back to a safe distance and wait for Admiral Mitchell's battle group. Let the real military handle this situation. Save human lives instead of throwing them away in a hopeless gesture. But every time Jake closed his eyes, he saw Elder Kess's face on the communication screen. He heard the musical voice asking for help from anyone in the universe who might care. 3 billion innocent people were about to die, and humanity had the chance to at least try to save them. A soft chime indicated someone at his door. Come in. Amy Brooks entered, looking nervous. Captain, I've been monitoring communications from Earth. There's a lot of debate about what we should do here. What kind of debate? Some people think we should help the Valari no matter what. Others think we should be more careful about getting involved in alien wars. The news networks are calling it humanity's first moral test in space. Jake rubbed his tired eyes. He'd joined the exploration service to discover new worlds and make peaceful contact with other species. He'd never imagined his first alien encounter would involve choosing between following orders and doing what felt right. "What do you think, Amy?" She was quiet for a moment. "My little sister is 8 years old. When I call home, she always asks me what it's like out here among the stars. I tell her stories about beautiful planets and amazing discoveries. But what am I going to tell her about this? That we found people who needed help and we just watched them die?" Before Jake could answer, Danny Rodriguez's voice came over the communication system. "Captain, you need to hear this. I'm sending a report from the surface." Jake and Amy hurried to the bridge, where Danny's excited face filled the main screen. Behind him, they could see the interior of what looked like a Valari laboratory, all flowing curves and soft lights. "Captain, this technology is incredible. The Valari have power sources that could revolutionize space travel. Their shielding systems could make our ships nearly invulnerable. And they're giving us everything. No questions asked. What about weapons? They don't have any, but Helen and I have been working with their scientists to adapt their tools. We think we can modify their industrial cutting lasers into ship-mounted weapons. It won't be much against those Dominion battleships, but it's better than nothing." Helen Carter appeared beside Danny on the screen. "Captain, I've learned more about the Dominion from the Valari historical records. They've been doing this for hundreds of years. They find peaceful species, demand surrender, and either enslave or destroy them. The Valari are just the latest target. Any word on when Admiral Mitchell will arrive?" "Still 3 days out, sir. But I have to tell you, the Valari are already preparing to fight. Our visit has given them hope, and they're asking their people to help however they can." Jake felt the weight of command pressing down on him. The Valari were preparing to resist, because they believed humanity would stand with them. If he pulled back now, he would be betraying not just alien allies, but the trust of his own crew. "Captain," Lisa Chang called from her navigation station. "We're being hailed by the Dominion fleet again." Put it on screen. Overlord Thane's cold face appeared on the viewer. "Captain Morrison, you are still here. I am surprised." "We're not going anywhere," Jake replied. "That is unfortunate. I had hoped your species might be reasonable. But I see you suffer from the same foolish idealism that has infected the Valari. Foolish idealism. The belief that the weak deserve protection. The belief that inferior species should be allowed to waste resources that stronger peoples could use better. The universe is vast, Captain. There is not room for the weak." Jake felt anger building in his chest. And who decides who's weak and who's strong? Strength decides. We have conquered 47 species because we are superior. Soon we will conquer the Valari, and eventually we will conquer your Earth as well. You're making a mistake if you think humanity will just roll over. Thane laughed, that horrible scraping sound. "Your ship is alone, Captain. One small vessel against my entire fleet. Even if more of your ships come, we have faced larger forces before. The weak always believe that numbers will save them. They are always wrong." "Maybe. But I guess we'll find out." "Indeed. You have 48 hours to reconsider your position. After that, any human vessels in this system will be destroyed along with the Valari." The transmission ended, leaving the bridge in tense silence. Amy was the first to speak. "He just threatened Earth." "Yes, he did," Jake replied grimly. "Which means this isn't just about saving the Valari anymore. It's about showing the Dominion that humanity won't back down from bullies." Ben Taylor, the communications specialist, looked up from his station. "Captain, I've been analyzing their fleet communications. They're not taking us seriously at all. They think one human ship is just a minor annoyance." "Good. Let them underestimate us." Danny's voice came through from the planet's surface again. "Captain, the Volari want to know if we're really going to fight for them. They're scared, but they're also excited. They've never had anyone willing to stand up for them before." Jake looked around at his crew. These were good people who had signed up to explore the stars and make contact with alien civilizations. They hadn't bargained for a space battle against overwhelming odds. "All hands, this is the captain," he announced over the ship's communication system. "By now everyone knows about Admiral Stone's orders to withdraw and observe. I want to make something clear. I will not order anyone to fight. This is voluntary." He paused, choosing his words carefully. "But I will tell you this. 3 billion innocent people are about to be murdered by an enemy that thinks the strong have the right to destroy the weak. The Volari asked the universe for help, and we're the only ones who can answer that call in time." Jake looked at each member of his bridge crew in turn. "If we fight, we'll probably lose. If we run, we'll definitely live. But if we run, we'll have to live with the knowledge that we abandoned people who trusted us." Amy was the first to respond. "Captain, I didn't come out here to watch genocides happen." "Neither did I," added Lisa. "Besides, someone has to teach these Dominion bullies that there are consequences for threatening Earth." Danny's voice came through from the surface. "Count me in, Captain. The Volari have shown me technology that could help humanity for generations. They deserve a chance to survive." One by one, every member of the crew voiced their agreement. Jake felt proud and terrified at the same time. They were committed now, all of them, to a fight they couldn't win against an enemy that had conquered 47 other species. "Ben, send a message to Admiral Mitchell. Tell him we're engaging the enemy and to hurry up with those reinforcements." "What, should I tell Admiral Stone?" Jake thought about that for a moment. Stone would probably court-martial him for disobeying orders, assuming any of them survived the next 3 days. "Tell him that humanity has made its choice. We don't abandon people who ask for our help." As the Defiant moved closer to the Dominion fleet, Jake wondered if they were about to become heroes, or just the first humans to die in an interstellar war. But he knew one thing for certain. The Volari would not face their fate alone. The galaxy was about to learn what happened when someone threatened humanity's friends. Admiral Robert Stone sat in his office at Earth Command, staring at the message from Captain Morrison. 20 years of military service had taught him to be careful about situations that seemed too good or too bad to be true. First contact with aliens asking for help definitely qualified as both. "What do we know about this Captain Morrison?" he asked his aide, Lieutenant Karen White. "Good record, sir. Explorer class, not military, but he served 2 tours during the Mars Rebellion. His crew trusts him, and he's never filed a false report." Stone nodded. Morrison wasn't the type to make up stories, but that didn't mean he wasn't being fooled by someone else. "Get me General Evans and Dr. Kim on the line." Within minutes, the wall screen showed 2 familiar faces. General Paul Evans commanded Earth's Space Defense Forces, while Dr. Andrew Kim ran the Experimental Weapons Division. "Gentlemen, you've both seen Morrison's report. What are your thoughts?" Evans spoke first. "It could be a trap, sir. Someone could be using fake distress signals to lure our ships into ambush. We've seen it before with pirates. But pirates don't usually bother with elaborate alien languages," Dr. Kim pointed out. "I've reviewed the linguistic analysis. This would take years to fake properly. That's assuming aliens actually created it, Evans replied. There are human groups who might want to start a war with unknown forces. Nothing brings a species together like a common enemy. Stone had considered the same possibility. Earth's government was still fragile after the colony wars. Some military leaders thought an external threat would help unite humanity under stronger leadership. What's our nearest military asset to the Kepler 442 system? The battle group Omega-7 under Admiral Mitchell, Evans replied. But they're 6 days out, minimum. Stone made his decision. Send Mitchell's group immediately, maximum speed. Have Captain Morrison maintain distance and observe only, no engagement without direct orders. Sir, Karen White spoke up carefully. What if the distress call is real? If Captain Morrison just watches while an entire species gets destroyed, how will that look to other potential allies? That was the problem with first contact situations. Every choice had massive consequences. Help the wrong people, and humanity could start an interstellar war. Refuse to help the right people, and humanity would be seen as cowards or monsters. We follow protocol, Stone said firmly. Morrison observes and reports. No heroics. But even as he sent the order, Stone knew Jake Morrison well enough to suspect the captain might have other ideas. 2 days later, the Defiant dropped out of faster-than-light travel at the edge of the Kepler 442 system. What they found made Jake's blood run cold. The third planet was beautiful, blue and green with white clouds, obviously full of life. But surrounding it in a loose blockade were 12 massive black ships, each one at least 3 times the size of Earth's largest cruiser. My God, whispered Lisa from her navigation station. Those things are huge. Amy was working frantically at her communications post. I'm picking up transmissions between the alien ships. The computer is trying to translate, but it's a completely different language from the distress call. Helen Carter had been studying both languages since they arrived. The distress call is from the Valari on the planet. These other signals are from their attackers, the Dominion. Very different speech patterns, much more aggressive. Jake studied the enemy ships through the main viewer. They were sleek and dark, built for war rather than exploration. Each one could probably destroy the Defiant without breaking formation. Any word from the planet? Yes, sir. The Valari are still broadcasting their plea for help. They know the Dominion ships are here, but they keep hoping someone will answer. Danny Rodriguez had been scanning the enemy fleet with every sensor the Defiant possessed. Captain, these ships are using technology I've never seen before. Their power signatures are off the charts, and their hull materials don't match anything in our database. How long until Admiral Mitchell arrives? 4 days, sir. 4 days might as well be forever. According to the Valari transmissions, the Dominion had given them 10 days to surrender, and 6 of those days were already gone. Take us closer, but keep us in the sensor shadow of that asteroid field, Jake ordered. I want to see what we're dealing with. As they moved deeper into the system, Amy suddenly looked up from her station with alarm. Captain, we're being hailed by one of the Dominion ships. Put it on screen. The main viewer flickered, then showed the interior of what was obviously a warship's bridge. The creature looking back at them was tall and thin, with gray skin and eyes like black holes. When it spoke, the computer translated its words into a cold, mechanical voice. Unknown vessel, you have entered a restricted system. I am Overlord Thane of the Dominion Fleet. State your business here. Jake stood up, trying to look more confident than he felt. This is Captain Morrison of the Earthship Defiant. We received a distress call from this system and came to investigate. Thane's expression didn't change, but somehow he managed to look even more menacing. Earth, we have no record of this species. You will withdraw immediately or be destroyed. We're not looking for trouble, Jake said carefully. We just want to make sure everyone here is safe. Safety is simple, Thane replied. The Valari will surrender to Dominion rule, or they will be eliminated. This is the natural order. The strong command, the weak obey or die. What gives you the right to make that choice for them? For the first time, Thane showed emotion. He laughed, a sound like metal scraping against stone. Right? We are stronger. We have better weapons. We have conquered 47 species across this sector of the galaxy. That gives us every right we need. Jake felt anger building in his chest. And if they refuse? Then in 4 days, every living thing on that planet will be dead, including you, if you remain here. Your ship is small and weak. It would not take much effort to destroy it. The transmission ended, leaving the bridge in stunned silence. Helen was the first to speak. 47 species. How many billions of people has this Dominion killed? And they're about to make it 48, Amy added quietly. Danny looked at his sensor readings again. Captain, I hate to say it, but he's right about our ship. Any one of those Dominion vessels could turn us into space dust in about 30 seconds. Jake knew Danny was right. The smart thing to do was exactly what Admiral Stone had ordered. Observe and report. Let the real military handle this when they arrived. Don't risk human lives for aliens they'd never met. But as he looked at the beautiful planet on the screen, Jake thought about the voice in that distress call. Someone down there was looking up at the stars, hoping that the good people of the universe would come to help them. The Valari had made themselves vulnerable by asking for help, trusting that someone would care. Amy, send a message to Admiral Mitchell. Tell him the situation is worse than we thought, and ask him to push his engines as hard as possible. Yes, sir? What else should I tell him? Jake stared at the Dominion fleet, 12 massive warships against one small exploration vessel. The odds were impossible. The smart choice was obvious. Tell him we're going to buy him some time. Karen White would later say that Jake Morrison's decision to engage the Dominion fleet was either the bravest or stupidest thing any human had ever done. She was probably right on both counts. But as Jake gave the order to close with the enemy, he knew one thing for certain. The Valari had asked the galaxy for help, and humanity was going to answer that call no matter what it cost. The attack came at dawn, Velas time. Jake had studied Earth's military history during the long night, looking for any strategy that might work against impossible odds. The answer came from an unexpected source. Ancient guerrilla warfare tactics, updated for space combat. Danny, what's the status on those weapon modifications? Jake asked as the Defiant moved through the asteroid field toward the Dominion fleet. Helen and the Valari scientists have been working all night, Danny replied from his position on the planet's surface. We've managed to convert their industrial cutting lasers into something that might punch through Dominion shields. Not enough to destroy one of their ships, but maybe enough to damage them. Every little bit helps. What about our engines? That's the interesting part. The Valari power cores are incredibly efficient. I think I can rig our engines to give short bursts of speed that should confuse their targeting systems. Jake nodded. Speed and surprise were their only advantages. The Dominion ships were powerful but built for overwhelming weaker opponents, not for fighting an enemy that refused to stand still and trade shots. Amy, any change in their formation? No, sir. They're still in a loose blockade pattern around the planet. They don't seem concerned about one small ship. That was exactly what Jake was counting on. Overlord Thane had conquered 47 species. Using the same tactics, show up with overwhelming force, demand surrender, and destroy anyone who refused. He wasn't prepared for an enemy that used different rules. Lisa, take us to attack position Alpha 1. Ben, start jamming their communications on my mark. The Defiant shot out of the asteroid field like a bullet, heading straight for the nearest Dominion ship. The massive black vessel was 3 times larger than anything in Earth's fleet, bristling with weapons and covered in armor that looked thick enough to stop any conventional attack. "Target their sensor array," Jake ordered. "Let's see how well they fight when they're blind." The modified Valari cutting laser lanced out, a beam of pure energy that struck the Dominion ship's sensor cluster. Sparks flew as the alien technology overloaded, and suddenly the massive vessel was spinning in place, trying to figure out what had hit it. "Direct hit," Amy called out. "Their sensors are down." "Now run," Jake ordered. "Maximum speed, evasive pattern Delta." The Defiant shot away from the confused Dominion ship just as its weapons opened fire. Massive energy blasts filled the space where they had been, but the little human ship was already gone, diving back into the asteroid field. "Their response time is terrible," Lisa observed. "They're used to fighting enemies that just sit there and take it. Let's not give them time to adapt. Take us to position Alpha 2. For the next 6 hours, the Defiant played a deadly game of hit and run with the Dominion fleet. They would appear out of nowhere, strike at sensors or weapons, then vanish back into the asteroids before the massive ships could respond effectively. "This is actually working," Ben said with amazement after their 5th successful attack. "We've damaged 7 of their ships and they haven't even come close to hitting us." But Jake knew their luck couldn't last forever. The Dominion crews were starting to adapt, spreading out their formation and trying to predict where the human ship would appear next. "Captain," Amy called out urgently, "I'm picking up a transmission from Overlord Thane. He's addressing the planet directly." "Put it on speaker." Thane's cold voice filled the bridge. "Valari of the planet below. You see what happens when inferior species try to resist the Dominion. Your human allies damage a few of our ships and think they have won a victory, but we grow tired of these games." Jake felt his stomach clench. This was what he had been afraid of. "In 1 hour, we will begin bombardment of your largest city. Every hour that the human ship continues its attacks, we will destroy another population center. Perhaps this will teach both species the price of defiance." The transmission ended, leaving the bridge in stunned silence. "He's going to kill civilians to force us to stop fighting," Amy said quietly. Jake stared at the main screen, where the beautiful planet Velas hung in space like a blue and green jewel. 3 billion people down there, living their lives, trusting that the strange humans who had answered their call for help would somehow save them. "Captain, we're being hailed by Elder Kess," Ben reported. The Valari leader's face appeared on the screen, and Jake was surprised to see that he looked calm, almost serene. "Captain Morrison, we heard Overlord Thane's threat. We want you to know that we understand the choice you must make. Elder Kess, we're not going to let them murder your people. We know you will do everything you can. But Captain, our scientists have been studying your attack patterns. Dr. Helen Carter has taught us about human military history. We have learned something about fighting back." Jake felt a spark of hope. "What do you mean?" "We cannot build weapons to fight their ships, but we can build other things. Our industrial fabricators can create millions of small devices. Our transportation tubes can carry them anywhere on the planet instantly, and our young people are no longer willing to surrender without a fight." Danny Rodriguez appeared on the screen beside Elder Kess. "Captain, they're building improvised electronic warfare devices, millions of them. If the Dominion tries to land troops, every Valari city will become a nightmare of jamming signals and communication disruption. We cannot fight their ships," Elder Kess continued, "but we can make their conquest of our world more costly than they expect. And, Captain, our analysis shows that the Dominion has never faced a species that fought both in space and on the ground simultaneously." Jake began to understand. The Valari were offering to turn their entire planet into a fortress, buying time for the human reinforcements to arrive. "Elder Kess, that's incredibly brave, but civilian resistance against a military occupation will cost many lives," the Elder finished. "We know this. But, Captain, for 3,000 years we have lived in peace because we believed that peace was the only way. Now we have learned that sometimes peace must be fought for." Helen Carter appeared on the screen. "Captain, the Valari have a saying. The tree that bends survives the storm, but the tree that cannot bend must grow strong roots." They're choosing to grow roots. Jake felt a surge of admiration for these peaceful people who were willing to fight for their freedom. But he also felt the weight of responsibility. His attacks had provoked Thane into threatening the civilians. Now those same civilians were volunteering to resist, knowing it might cost them everything. "Danny, how long until you can get back? To the ship?" "We're launching now, Captain. The Valari have given us everything they can. The rest is up to us." As Jake watched the shuttle rise from the planet's surface, he made a decision that would become legendary in human military history. Instead of trying to stop the Dominion bombardment through negotiation or retreat, he was going to escalate. "Amy, send a message to all Dominion ships. Tell Overlord Thane that if he fires one shot at that planet, we're going to start targeting their life support systems instead of their sensors. Sir, we don't have the firepower to threaten their life support. He doesn't know that. And Ben, I want you to start broadcasting on all frequencies. Tell every species in this part of the galaxy what's happening here. Tell them that the Dominion is about to commit genocide, and humanity is the only thing standing in their way. Captain, what if other species decide to help the Dominion instead of us?" Jake smiled grimly. "Then we'll find out who the good guys really are." As the shuttle docked with the Defiant, Jake prepared for the next phase of the battle. They had proven that the Dominion could be hurt. Now it was time to prove that some fights were worth having, even when you couldn't win. The galaxy was about to see what happened when humans got angry. Admiral Laura Mitchell stood on the bridge of the USS Vengeance, watching the tactical display with growing amazement. For 3 days, one small exploration ship had been holding off an entire Dominion fleet through sheer audacity and superior tactics. "How many ships did Morrison disable?" she asked her tactical officer. 11 out of 12, Admiral. Sensors, weapons, navigation systems. The Defiant has been running circles around them." Captain Ryan Brooks, commanding the destroyer USS Liberty, appeared on the communications screen. "Admiral, I've been studying their attack patterns. Morrison's crew has turned guerrilla warfare into an art form. They're using the asteroid field like submarine commanders used underwater terrain in the old wars. Any word from the planet's surface?" "That's where it gets interesting," reported Captain Nicole Adams from the USS Phoenix. "The Valari have been broadcasting their resistance activities on open channels. Every major city has organized citizen groups that are building electronic warfare devices. If the Dominion tries to land troops, they're going to face millions of civilians with improvised jammers and communication disruptors." Mitchell nodded approvingly. Morrison turned first contact into an alliance, and the alliance into a resistance. Movement. Not bad for an exploration captain. The human battle group had been pushing their engines beyond safe limits for 3 days, racing to reach the Kepler 442 system before the situation became hopeless. Admiral Stone's original caution had given way to urgency, as reports filtered in about Dominion threats to destroy civilian populations. "Admiral, we're receiving a transmission from the Defiant," reported the communications officer. Jake Morrison's tired face appeared on the main screen. His uniform was wrinkled, his eyes were bloodshot, but his voice was steady. "Admiral Mitchell, good to see you, though I wish it was under better circumstances." "Captain Morrison, I have to say, your tactical reports make for interesting reading. Turning 12 enemy capital ships into sitting ducks with 1 exploration vessel? We had help, ma'am. The Volari technology made the difference, and they've been incredible allies." "What's the current situation?" "Overlord Thane is furious. He's been sending threats for the past day, but he hasn't followed through on attacking the cities. I think our electronic warfare broadcasts convinced him that conquering the planet would be more costly than he wants to pay." Mitchell studied the tactical display showing the positions of both fleets. "What about their combat effectiveness?" "Reduced, but not eliminated. They've adapted somewhat to our hit-and-run tactics." "And Admiral?" "There's something else. We've been monitoring long-range communications. The Dominion has sent for reinforcements." "How many ships?" "At least 20 more vessels, possibly more. They should arrive in about 6 days." Mitchell felt her jaw tighten. Her battle group consisted of 7 ships, including her flagship. Even with the element of surprise and superior tactics, facing 32 Dominion vessels would be suicide. "Admiral," Captain Adams called out, "I'm picking up multiple signals from the edge of the system. Unknown ships approaching. Dominion. Reinforcements? Negative. These are smaller vessels, different design patterns. And Admiral, they're responding to the broadcasts that Captain Morrison has been sending." Mitchell's communications officer looked up with excitement. "Admiral, we're being hailed by multiple ships. They say they're responding to humanity's call for help against the Dominion. Put them on screen." The main viewer flickered and split into several smaller images. Each showed a different alien species, but their expressions were universally determined. "I am Captain Zara of the Nexian Republic," said a blue-skinned humanoid with large silver eyes. "We received your broadcasts about the Dominion threat. Our government has authorized military assistance." "I am Commander Thrix of the Andromedian Defense Force," added a tall, insectoid alien. "The Dominion destroyed 2 of our colony worlds 50 years ago. We have been waiting for someone to stand against them." One by one, representatives of 6 different species announced their intention to help. The alliance fleet that was forming included not just human ships, but vessels from across the local galactic sector. "How many ships total?" Mitchell asked, her tactical officer. 43 Allied vessels of various sizes, Admiral. We're actually going to outnumber the Dominion when their reinforcements arrive." Jake Morrison's image reappeared on the screen. "Admiral, Elder Kess wants to address the Allied fleet." The gentle Volari leader appeared, his musical voice carrying clearly across the communication channels. "Friends from many worlds, we cannot express our gratitude for your willingness to help strangers. For too long, the Dominion has terrorized this part of space because good people stood alone against them. Today, we stand together." Captain Brooks from the Liberty spoke up. "Admiral, the alien ships are taking positions according to a battle plan that Captain Morrison developed. It looks like he's been coordinating with them for hours." Mitchell looked at Morrison with new respect. "Captain, How did you manage to organize an interstellar alliance while fighting off the Dominion fleet? The Volari helped, ma'am. Their long-range communication systems are incredibly advanced. Once other species heard that someone was actually fighting back against the Dominion, they started volunteering to help. And you took it upon yourself to accept their assistance? Jake looked slightly uncomfortable. It seemed like the right thing to do, Admiral. We're all fighting the same enemy. Mitchell smiled. Morrison had violated about 15 different first contact protocols, but he had also created humanity's first interstellar military alliance. Captain, when this is over, you're either getting a medal or a court-martial. Possibly both. Dr. Andrew Kim's voice came through from the Phoenix. Admiral, I've been analyzing the alien technologies that Captain Morrison's team discovered. If we can integrate Volari power systems with Nexian shields and Andromedian weapons, we might actually have a chance against the Dominion. How long? Do we have? The Dominion reinforcements will arrive in 5 days. But there's something else. According to the alien captains, word about this battle is spreading across the galaxy. More species are asking their governments for permission to help. Mitchell realized that what had started as a rescue mission for one species had become something much larger. The first coordinated resistance to Dominion expansion in galactic history. All ships, this is Admiral Mitchell. We're going to use the next 5 days to integrate our technologies and coordinate our tactics. When the Dominion reinforcements arrive, they're going to face something they've never seen before. A united galaxy. As the mixed fleet of human and alien ships began working together, sharing technology and strategies, Elder Kess sent one final message to the assembled captains. The Dominion believes that strength comes from conquest and fear. Today we will show them that true strength comes from peoples who choose to stand together for what is right. Jake Morrison looked out at the growing Alliance fleet and thought about the chain of events that had led to this moment. The Volari had made a mistake by broadcasting their plea for help across the galaxy. The Dominion had made a mistake by underestimating the response that plea would receive, but the biggest mistake of all belonged to Overlord Thane, who had just discovered that threatening Earth's friends was a very dangerous thing to do. The galaxy was about to change, and humanity was going to help make it happen. The battle began at exactly 800 hours, ship's time, when the Dominion reinforcement fleet dropped out of faster-than-light travel at the edge of the system. 24 massive black warships joined the original 12, creating an armada that had conquered entire star systems. Overlord Thane stood on his flagship's bridge, studying the tactical display with satisfaction. 36 ships against their pathetic alliance. This will be over quickly. But as his sensors swept the inner system, Thane's confidence began to waver. The Allied fleet had grown to 67 ships from 14 different species. More importantly, they weren't scattered randomly like most hastily assembled coalitions. They were arranged in a precise battle formation that spoke of careful planning and coordination. Admiral Mitchell, this is Captain Morrison. Jake's voice crackled over the communication system. All Allied ships report ready for combat. The Volari planetary defense systems are online. Laura Mitchell stood on the bridge of the Vengeance, surrounded by tactical displays showing the most diverse fleet in galactic history. Human destroyers worked alongside Nexian cruisers, while Andromedian fighters formed up with Earth's newest pilots. Captain Zara, what's the status on the shield integration? The blue-skinned Nexian captain's image appeared on screen. Admiral, Dr. Kim's modifications are working perfectly. The Volari power cores are boosting our shield strength by 300%. Commander Thrix's insectoid features showed what might have been a smile. "Admiral Mitchell, our weapons are charged with Volari energy systems. We have firepower that the Dominion has never seen before." But the real surprise came from the planet's surface. Elder Kess had worked with human engineers to turn Velas itself into a fortress. The beautiful cities now bristled with defensive systems that combined Volari technology with human military thinking. "Overlord Thane is hailing us," reported the communications officer. The cold face of the Dominion leader appeared on the main screen, but for the first time, Jake noticed uncertainty in those black eyes. "I am Overlord Thane of the Dominion Fleet. You will surrender immediately or be destroyed. This is Admiral Mitchell of the Allied Fleet. We reject your terms. Withdraw from this system or face the consequences." Thane's expression hardened. "Allied Fleet? You think a collection of inferior species can stand against the Dominion? We have conquered 47 worlds. Your alliance will be number 48. "Maybe," Mitchell replied calmly. "But you've never faced 47 worlds fighting back at the same time." The Dominion fleet advanced in the traditional formation that had served them well against dozens of other species, a massive wedge designed to break through enemy lines and create panic. It was a tactic built on overwhelming force and intimidation. The Allied fleet response was something completely different. "All ships, execute Pattern Morrison," Admiral Mitchell ordered. Named after the captain who had pioneered the tactics during his 3-day holding action, Pattern Morrison was based on ancient Earth naval strategies adapted for space combat. Instead of meeting the Dominion charge head-on, the Allied ships scattered into small groups, each one targeting specific enemy vessels with coordinated attacks. "Phoenix and Liberty target the lead ship's engines," Mitchell commanded. "Nexian, squadrons, hit their sensor arrays. Andromedian fighters go for their communication systems." The battle that followed was unlike anything the Dominion had ever experienced. Instead of facing a single enemy that they could overwhelm with superior firepower, they found themselves fighting dozens of smaller battles simultaneously. Captain Adams aboard the Phoenix led her ship in a spiraling attack run that brought her guns to bear on a Dominion battleship's engine section. The modified Volari energy weapons punched through shields that had previously been thought impenetrable. "Direct. Hit!" her tactical officer reported. "Their main drive is down!" But the Phoenix didn't stop to admire their handiwork. Following Morrison's doctrine, they immediately moved to their next target, leaving the crippled Dominion ship for other Allied vessels to finish off. Jake Morrison, meanwhile, was coordinating the most complex space battle in galactic history, from his position aboard the Defiant. His small ship had become the communication hub for the entire Allied fleet, with Helen Carter translating between 14 different languages in real time. "Andromedian fighters, break off your attack on Ship 7 and support the Nexian cruisers at Grid 44, Jake ordered. "Human destroyers, form up for a torpedo run on the enemy flagship." The battle raged for 6 hours, with neither side able to gain a decisive advantage. The Dominion ships were individually more powerful, but the Allied fleet's superior tactics and coordination kept them in the fight. The turning point came when Private Lucy Roberts, working with Volari scientist Zen in the Underground Command Center, made a crucial discovery. "Captain Morrison!" Lucy's excited voice came through the communication system. "We found something. Zen was analyzing the power signatures from the Dominion ships, and we noticed a pattern." "What kind of pattern?" "All their ships are networked. Together through their command vessel, they share power, communications, everything. If we can overload their network, we might be able to shut down their entire fleet. Jake immediately understood the implications. You're talking about turning their greatest strength into their greatest weakness. Exactly. But we'd need to get close enough to their flagship to plant a virus in their computer systems. Admiral Mitchell's voice cut in. Morrison, that's suicide. Their flagship is the most heavily defended ship in their fleet. Maybe not, Admiral. I have an idea. What Jake Morrison proposed was so audacious that it became the subject of military study for generations to come. Instead of trying to fight, through the Dominion defenses, he would use them. Elder Kess, can your people create a fake surrender broadcast? The Valari leader appeared on screen from his command center. Of course, Captain. What do you need us to say? Tell Thane that the planet is ready to surrender, but that the surrender must be accepted by the fleet commander personally. Traditional, diplomatic protocol. 20 minutes later, Overlord Thane received what appeared to be an official surrender from the Valari government. According to their message, the planetary leaders would meet with him aboard his flagship to formally submit to Dominion rule. It's a trap, warned his tactical officer. Of course it's a trap, Thane replied. But it's a desperate one. They think they can capture me and somehow turn the tide of battle. Instead, they'll be delivering themselves directly into my hands. Thane's arrogance proved to be his final mistake. When the Valari diplomatic shuttle approached his flagship, he allowed it to land in his main hangar bay. The shuttle contained Elder Kess and 2 junior diplomats, exactly as expected. What Thane didn't expect was that one of the diplomats was actually Danny Rodriguez in disguise, carrying a computer virus designed by the combined genius of human and Valari programmers. "Welcome aboard, Elder Kess," Thane said as his prisoners were escorted to the bridge. "I trust you're ready to formally surrender your pathetic world." "We are ready to discuss terms," Elder Kess replied calmly, while Thane gloated over his captured enemies. Danny Rodriguez quietly accessed a computer terminal and uploaded the virus into the Dominion network. Within minutes, the virus had spread throughout the entire fleet, overloading power systems and shutting down weapons. 36 Dominion warships suddenly found themselves dead in space, their crews struggling desperately to restore power before the Allied fleet could take advantage of their helplessness. "All ships, this is Admiral Mitchell." Laura's voice rang out across the Allied fleet. "Target the disabled vessels. Let's finish this." The final phase of the battle lasted only 30 minutes. With their network compromised and their ships defenseless, the Dominion fleet was systematically destroyed by the combined forces of 14 species fighting for their freedom. Overlord Thane, watching his mighty fleet being torn apart on the tactical display, turned to Elder Kess with fury in his black eyes. "This is impossible. We are the Dominion. We are stronger than all of you." "No," Elder Kess replied gently. "You were stronger than each of us alone. But we are not alone anymore." As the last Dominion ship exploded in brilliant light, the Allied fleet came together in formation around the beautiful planet Velas. 14 species from across the galaxy had stood together against tyranny and won. The age of Dominion expansion was over. The age of galactic cooperation had begun, and it had all started with a desperate plea for help, broadcast into the darkness by people who believed that someone, somewhere, would care enough to answer. 3 months after the Battle of Velas, Jake Morrison stood in the newly constructed Alliance Council chambers on the planet's surface. The building itself was a symbol of the new galactic order, a graceful fusion of Valari architecture with practical elements contributed by all 14 member species. "Admiral Morrison," Elder Kess said, approaching with his characteristic gentle smile. Jake still wasn't used to his new rank, earned through his role in creating the first interstellar military alliance. The final vote has been counted. The Galactic Freedom Alliance is now officially established. Through the chamber's curved windows, Jake could see the orbital shipyards where human engineers worked alongside Valari scientists and Nexian technicians. The first generation of Alliance ships was taking shape, vessels that combined the best technology from all member worlds. It's hard to believe it all started with a distress call, Jake mused. Captain Zara of the Nexian Republic joined them, her blue skin shimmering in the afternoon light. Not just any distress call, Admiral. It was the right call, answered by the right people at the right time. Amy Brooks, now promoted to commander and serving as Jake's aide, approached with a communication tablet. Admiral, we're receiving reports. From the rescue fleets, 12 more worlds have been liberated from Dominion control in the past month. Jake smiled. The Alliance had wasted no time in responding to the hundreds of distress calls that had been accumulating across the galaxy for decades. Worlds that had been enslaved or terrorized by the Dominion were finally getting the help they had desperately needed. What's the latest from the Andromedian Task Force? Commander Thrick's reports successful evacuation of the Gamma Centauri colonies. The Dominion garrison surrendered without a fight when they saw the Alliance fleet approaching. That had become a common pattern. Word of the Dominion's defeat at Veles had spread quickly across the galaxy. Many Dominion commanders, facing united opposition for the first time in their history, chose surrender over destruction. Dr. Helen Carter, now serving as the Alliance's chief xenolinguist, hurried over with her own tablet. Admiral, I finished analyzing the communications we captured from the Dominion ships. You need to see this. She showed him a translated document that made his blood run cold. It's a list of species the Dominion planned to conquer next. Earth was number 3 on the list, right after the Valari. Jake studied the document with growing amazement. The list contained over 200 species across this sector of the galaxy. If the Dominion had succeeded at Veles, their next stop would have been Earth's solar system. The Valari saved us all, he said quietly. If they hadn't broadcast that distress call, if we hadn't answered it, the Dominion would have conquered half the galaxy. Elder Kess overheard and shook his head gently. No, Admiral. We saved each other. That is what the Alliance means. No one stands alone anymore. Danny Rodriguez appeared in the doorway, still wearing his engineer's uniform despite his new position as Alliance Director of Technology Integration. Admiral, you need to come see this. The new ships are ready for their first test flight. They walked outside to where a small crowd had gathered around a sleek vessel that looked like no ship ever built before. It combined the graceful curves of Valari design with the practical strength of human engineering and the advanced systems of a dozen other species. It's beautiful, Amy breathed. More than that, Danny said proudly. It's fast, heavily armed, and has the most advanced sensors in the galaxy. Any species sending out a distress call will get a response within hours instead of days. Lisa Chang, now captain of her own vessel, walked up to join them. Admiral, the Rapid Response Fleet is ready to deploy. 15 ships crewed by mixed species teams, all trained in first contact and rescue operations. Jake felt a deep sense of satisfaction. The Alliance had learned from humanity's experience with the Valari. They wouldn't just wait for distress calls anymore. They would actively seek out species that needed help and offer assistance before crises became disasters. Admiral Morrison, a new voice called out. Jake turned to see Admiral Stone approaching, having arrived from Earth for the Alliance founding ceremony. "I bring greetings from Earth Command and the United Nations." Admiral Stone. "I wasn't sure Earth would approve of all this," Stone smiled. "Captain Morrison, when you disobeyed my orders 3 months ago, I was ready to court-martial you. Now, I'm here to offer you command of Earth's contribution to the Alliance fleet. Funny how things work out. What changed your mind?" The intelligence reports. "When we realized how close Earth came to Dominion conquest, the whole debate about first contact protocols became academic. You didn't just save the Valari, Morrison. You saved us all." As they talked, more representatives from Alliance worlds began arriving for the ceremony. Jake watched species that had been enemies, strangers, or simply unknown to each other just months ago, working together like old friends. Commander Steve Harper, who had commanded fleet logistics during the battle, approached with a communication device. "Admiral, we're receiving a priority transmission from the edge of Alliance space." "What is it?" "Another distress call, sir. A species called the Tellarites. They're being attacked by Dominion remnants who escaped our net." Jake looked around at the assembled Alliance commanders. Human, Valari, Nexian, Andromedian, and 10 other species, all united by the principle that no one should face tyranny alone. "How long to get a response fleet there?" 6 hours, Admiral. "Do it." As the Alliance ships lifted off to answer another call for help, Elder Kess placed a gentle hand on Jake's shoulder. "You know, Admiral, our people have a saying. The voice that calls out in darkness finds the ear that was meant to hear it." "What does that mean?" "It means that some mistakes are actually destiny. We mistakenly broadcast our location to the entire galaxy when we asked for help. You mistakenly decided to answer that call instead of following your orders. The Dominion mistakenly thought they could intimidate the galaxy into submission." Jake smiled. "And all those mistakes led to this." "Not mistakes, Admiral. Choices. The choice to reach out when you need help. The choice to answer when others call. The choice to stand together instead of falling separately." As the ceremony began and representatives from hundreds of worlds gathered to sign the Alliance Charter, Jake thought about the chain of events that had brought them all here. It had started with one species desperate enough to call out into the darkness, trusting that someone good would hear them. The Valari had been right to trust. There were good people among the stars, and now they were all connected in an alliance that stretched across the galaxy. Admiral Laura Mitchell, now commanding the Alliance Defense Force, stepped up to the podium. 3 months ago, one brave species asked the universe for help. Today we stand together as proof that the universe answered. From this day forward, no species will face tyranny alone. No call for help will go unanswered, and no force in the galaxy will be allowed to prey on the innocent. The cheers that erupted from the assembled crowd could be heard across the planet. On ships throughout the Alliance fleet, crews from dozens of different worlds celebrated together. In the depths of space, monitoring stations picked up the celebration and broadcast it to every corner of known space. The message was clear. The galaxy had changed. The age of conquest was over. The age of cooperation had begun. And it all started because the Valari made what their enemies thought was a mistake. They had called out for help, and humanity had answered. Now, together with friends from across the stars, they were making sure that no one would ever have to face the darkness alone again. The galaxy was a better place because good people had decided to stand together. And Jake Morrison, looking out at the stars that no longer seemed cold and distant, knew that this was just the beginning. Somewhere out there, another species might be sending out a desperate call for help. When they did, the Alliance would be ready to answer, because that's what good people do for each other, no matter how far apart the stars might be.